Hey guys, let's talk about tonight's episode of Arrow. And we ended off last week with Roy having a vision of him killing Sarah, which was a pretty good cliffhanger. And in this week's episode, he tells Felicity that he believes he's the one who killed Sarah. And Felicity is pretty much believing everything he's saying. And when Felicity tells Oliver, or shall I say, when Roy tells Oliver and Laurel and Diggle that he is the one that killed Sarah, let's just say Laurel's reaction is the right reaction, which is anger, sadness, and disbelief. And Oliver is not having that same reaction. He's a little bit more like, let's just get to the bottom of this. And Diggle's like, let's get this boy out of here because clearly he is not somebody worth saving. So Diggle was ready to throw him out. Oliver was like, let's just take a second and relax, relate, release, and let's try to figure this out. And one of the things that was going on in this episode in the flashbacks was Oliver was on a mission and they had to retrieve this piece of paper from this gentleman. And when they found him, he didn't have it on him anymore. And so the guy, sorry guys, I cannot remember the guy that is with Oliver, basically his handler. He tells him that you saw it, you just don't realize that you saw it. And then his wife comes into the picture and helps him do some visualization. And Oliver's able to remember where this piece of paper is and where the guy hid it before he got hit by the car. So of course, in present day, Oliver does the same thing with Roy. He has him visualize what he believes to be his truth. That is that he threw the arrows at Sarah, and he's the one who killed her. When in reality, he actually threw the arrows at a police officer and killed a cop months ago, and Oliver just never told him because the miracle was in his system and he didn't want him to know that he actually murdered somebody. And when Roy realizes that he actually did still kill somebody, he's just as angry and he storms out of the lair. So, it was good that he wasn't like, all right, cool, at least it wasn't Sarah. He was still pretty disappointed in the fact that he murdered somebody in cold blood. So we'll see where this takes Roy and what journey he goes on throughout the coming episodes. What else went on in this episode is we saw Laurel back into fighting action with her new training partner, Isaac. And we find out in the case of the week that Isaac was actually a vigilante like 6 years ago. And why did nobody know about there being a vigilante 6 years ago? Because he was doing all this stuff in the Glades, and basically the Glades was like the ghetto, and nobody cares about the ghetto, right? So him and his sidekick, his version of I'm sorry, I called him Isaac, I meant Ted is his name, and Isaac was his sidekick, and Isaac was basically the Roy to Oliver, and he came back with a vengeance in this episode because Ted, his partner, kicked him to the curb and left him for dead, basically. And he wasn't too happy about that. So he was trying to have Ted pay for his past crimes, and he was killing all these people and trying to frame it on him. I wasn't really into this, into the case of the week. I was into learning a little bit more about Ted. I do like him as a character. He's not the greatest actor in my opinion, but I do like the stuff with him and Laurel. I like that he's going to continue to train Laurel even though Oliver seems to completely disagree with it. It's like, hello, Oliver, you can't be the only one in town who gets to go out and find justice in the world. So Laurel's doing her thing. She's going to continue training, and I like that. Felicity was pretty much doing Felicity's stuff this week, helping with the case. We didn't have much more of that. We didn't see any of her working at the office. What is it? Queen Consolidated. We didn't see her there. We didn't see any of Ray. Diggle, a little bit quiet as well in this episode. It was really mostly about Roy, and it should have been, because the way that the episode ended last week, we really needed to get to the bottom of it. And of course, it would have been way too easy for it to have been Roy, and it really wouldn't, I mean, I wouldn't say it wouldn't have made any sense, because we could have just blamed on the Mirakuru, but the fact that it wasn't him just keeps the story open and allows us to still wonder what actually happened on that rooftop with Sarah and who decided to kill her that night. No Malcolm Merlin, no Thea, but Roy is now off somewhere. He's probably going to go figure out if he really wants to be a part of this life much longer. I have a feeling he will, because that fight scene between him and his counterpart Isaac was pretty cool. We got to see Roy at work, and it was a nice fight scene. And then at the end of the episode, as Isaac was being taken off to prison in his orange jumpsuit, all of a sudden somebody gets, the officers that are holding him get hit with 2 arrows, and it's a woman standing there, and he says, "Who are you?" And she's like, I believe she said, "Cupid, you dummy," or something like that, or "you idiot," or something like that. I don't know. Again, it was kind of weird. And it just ends like that. So I guess she'll be the new villain in next week's episode. But again, like the stuff that's happening in Hong Kong, I'm not as gripped to it as I was when they were on the island. So that's kind of a little bit of a weak storyline for me. Again, I thought the case of the week this week was just okay. I didn't mind finding out about this guy, Ted, and the fact that, you know, he was a vigilante back in the day because he was trying to save the Glades, just like Oliver's trying to save Starling City. And, you know, he's doing whatever it is he can to protect the people that he loves and the people around him. And I like at the end of that fight scene between Isaac and Roy, when Isaac was basically trying to tell him that, look, they're just using you. Once they don't need you anymore, they're going to abandon you, and that's it. And I love at the end of that fight scene, Roy turns around after he kicks his butt, and Oliver's standing right there, and he's like, "Don't abandon me." And then Oliver says, "Never," or something like that. But it's like, you know, this big brother, younger brother relationship, and I'm really liking it. We've seen that they've come really close. They've gotten really close, and they're a well-oiled machine when it comes to the fighting. So now I guess Oliver's going to have to do some helping Roy get out of his head and, you know, not feel so bad about killing a cop. I don't know how you do that, but we'll see. All right, guys, let me know what you thought of this week's episode. Leave a comment down below, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next week.